Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Gilly, and I'm doing another episode of Gilly and Friends. And this week, I really want to introduce my friend Daniel Schneider over at Empower Training Academy. Bro, he has this awesome place, and I met him just through Project Solve, and we just started really kind of hitting it off, and I really just kind of found out about his heart and who he was, and he's got a really cool story. So today, we're going to just kind of ask him some questions and then kind of show around what they do here at Empower Training Academy. So, Daniel, where are you from?
So born and raised in Israel. Did the mandatory 3 years in the military and left as fast as I could. Didn't want to deal with all that, turmoil. Kind of left anything security. Traveled the world for about a year. Did more of the Far East. Thailand, Nepal, India, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore. I've seen cultures. I've seen all these people, and figured there's more to the world than Israel.
Yeah.
Went back and got my hotel restaurant training in Israel for about 9 months, and then I was kind of approached by a local college from Rhode Island while I was working, and I was told that I can get my degree in hotel restaurant management for half the time that it would take me to go anywhere else to study, whether it's in the U.S. or staying in Israel. It would be 5 years in Israel or a year and a half in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of like, okay, it's not like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I went to this college called Johnson & Wales University in Rhode Island, right now a well-known name, and got my degree, got my associates and my bachelor's pretty quick, about a year and a half. Got a job at a five-diamond hotel in New Jersey and kind of started my career, and kind of never went back to home. It was like a job and marriage and another job and moving, and I moved all the way from 16 years in New York, New Jersey. Worked for an old lady called Leona Helmsley for about 2 years. I've met a few people like Al Sharpton and Donald Trump, some people you might know. Just working for that place. It was right on Central Park. It was beautiful. And after that, kind of moved to Texas and started to kind of live my life, because it was like, ooh, I can do what?
Yeah.
I can actually own a home.
Yeah.
Because in Jersey, you
I
couldn't.
was like, yeah.
Long story short, ended up taking a job with a Fortune 500 company, and they moved me down to Arizona. Moved to Scottsdale and got involved with various groups and Maricopa County Sheriff Department, and worked for the posse there. Actually volunteered for the posse there. Did security for Scottsdale synagogues, and created a couple of teams over there for a synagogue. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of them are aware of the potential risks. And kind of, let's say, met my wife, Amanda, and we started kind of looking for a place to get married after a few years, and we're looking for a place that was a little rustic and more of a not as bougie. And we ended up finding a spot here at the Los Caballeros. So we got married in Sedona, and a week later we had the reception here at Los Caballeros. And at that time, we weren't even talking about moving.
Really?
We wanted to move to Wickenburg. We talked about moving to Wickenburg. We weren't looking. We weren't, we didn't have a house in mind. We kept on looking at the place that we were in right now, and it was way over our budget. And we're like, yeah, we're not doing that. And May 1st was the reception here at Los Caballeros. September 8th, we were already in here. Yeah, it was pretty quick.
Man.
And it kind of, the house got reduced by a little bit, and it kind of made into our, budget, and we were quick.
That's awesome.
It was fun. Now, the reason we wanted to move here was the people. We were on Wickenburg Facebook, And we've seen what happens when a family lost their home for a fire, and then within minutes they pretty much had everything they had. We saw Project Salt. We saw a bunch of other people that are not just talking; they're doing.
Yeah.
And it kind of talked to us. It touched our hearts to the point where it's like, okay, that is the place I want to live my life.
Yeah.
Scottsdale is now called Little LA.
Yeah.
And most of the license plates say California, and we just didn't want to stay there.
Yeah.
So we made the switch, and we're happy. We couldn't be happier.
Yeah.
We're growing our own food. we have 4 cats. We have peace and quiet and dark skies, and nice people around, and it's a dream. It's a dream come true.
You talked about the heart. It's one of the biggest things I love about Wickenburg is, through all the little bits of dramas of, oh, they got my order wrong at this restaurant, or the little petty things. When something big happens or something happens to somebody in this community, like, people really rally around it. I mean, my daughter's had 5 heart surgeries, and we've always gotten just so much support and love from everybody, from multiple churches and multiple businesses to help out and support us in those times. And really feeling that love is huge. I remember a friend of mine, her daughter was in a car accident, and, like, man, this town stopped what they were doing, and they had like a prayer vigil for her out at Sunset Park, and like, it's those moments where I'm like, oh my God, I love this community. And that's why I wanted to just pour my heart and soul into it, because I wanted to see whatever I can do to make it better. I mean, it's when we all come together and we, like, collectively are all working for a common good. This community really, it kind of flourishes, and I think shines bright, which is a reason why so many people do love it.
I can't tell you enough about how we see the stories and feel the stories, and we're not looking to be exposed to the stories, but they show up. Even last night I read about a gentleman who was thanking the community, for his, what they did for his late wife. And
I just read that. I just read that article. Yeah, I just read that last night too.
Those are the moments that I think this is real America,
Yeah.
and that's what we need to go back to.
Yeah, he said he moved from the former Republic of California.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. Heart goes out to that guy. I mean, but he's got a really good support system, and that's one of the things that so coming back to Empower, like, how did you always have a love for guns, and, like, did it spark in the military, and it just kind of went from there, or, like, how did you fall into this?
So that's a good story. Like I said, when I left Israel, I left everything that has to do with security, everything that has to do with guns, and I went to hospitality, probably the furthest thing away from guns.
Yeah. And one's inviting, one's
yeah. So it's like I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to talk about it. I had enough of it at home. I mean, from 6 years old, Dad brought the guns home, and I was taught how to be respectful. And until I got to the military, I really didn't have any exposure to guns after that. It was the respect, but not actually the usage. I did go through a rifle classes and things of that nature, but it was not a passion. It was a hobby.
Yeah.
After the military, like I said, left, did everything just not to see it. Moved to Texas, and it was at March of 09, sorry. So right after 08, when everything collapsed. And I couldn't find a job. So I, put a suit and a tie, and I started walking the streets and getting ads, to find a job. And nobody was hiring, so I need to get something. So I got into this security company, and I applied for a security guard position. But since I was the only one wearing a suit and a tie in that building applying, I never got the security job. I got the trainer's job.
Yeah.
So I was training the new security guards who were applying at the lobby, but I got they actually called the GM just for
the job you want, man.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the first step into training and the security end of things. I was really, really good at it. Within 9 months, I became number 2 for the company, and I was the director of personnel, which in campus is pretty much everything aside from the the GM's position, which is the money and everything else. I had my own budget for uniform and everything else. And then one of my friends shows up with a box of ammo, opens the box and goes, "I need $300, please." And that was my first gun.
Yeah.
So it was a nice, setup. Everything was in there. And he took me to the range, and I know how to shoot. I was in the military, and the ego was so high, and I couldn't hit a 6-inch plate and have 5 rounds in it at one time. It was 3 and then 2, and then it was 3 and then 1, and then I just it hurt being one of those military guys or guys with ego. I fought him and his direction, and I was an NRA instructor, and he could take the inside out of a target at almost at any range. It was very embarrassing for me. Intimidating, embarrassing. I should know how to shoot, which is pretty much most people's attitude, most guys' attitude, at least I would say. Would be like, "Oh, I know how to shoot," because we've seen it in the movies, right? You can kind of curve the bullet.
Pull out the Matrix.
Yeah. And once I kind of let that go, and I was allowed him to teach and train, I started to understand that there's a lot more to shooting than just pulling the trigger.
Yeah.
And took in a couple of NRA classes, took a couple of other classes, and did that job for a good 8 years back in back in Dallas, and gone through everything, excelled, did what I had to do, learned more new skills, got into CPR and AD as a trainer, and got a job with a few other companies, got promoted to a site manager for Metro PCS, currently Metro by T-Mobile, and I was one of their physical security supervisors. I had 11 guards under me, and it kind of got into the point where, okay, now it's interesting because there's more to it, because there's access control, there's cameras, there's investigations, there's CPR, there's situational awareness, all these things that I kind of had before from Israel, but I didn't know that I knew, and that there was any job that could use those skills.
Yeah.
Once I realized that, I kind of started learning more de-escalation techniques, and I have classes and courses, and I have a whole folder here with certificates, but it was up to the point where I left Texas in pursuit of a loss prevention asset protection job with T-Mobile, and they moved me from Dallas to Arizona. And I got to participate, met a friend who recruited me to join the Maricopa County posse.
Yep.
We were there for a little bit, and then he goes, "Why don't you help me, with security for the synagogue?" What do I have to do?
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I want to. What do I have to do?
What am I signing up for?
Yeah. So it's basically just us standing there, armed, concealed, and just making sure that we, keep the people in there safe.
Yeah.
I did that for 2 years, and then they were building a new building and moving into a newly reconstructed building. And then it started to kind of get some more traction with regards to, okay, this time we need a real security team, because at the shopping center there were many holes and many vulnerabilities. And then in this place, we had the ability to minimize the vulnerabilities and the risks, and do a holistic approach to security. Because security is not just the guns, the gates, the guards.
Yeah.
Or the cameras. There's so many things you can do as a culture of security.
Yeah.
And once you get the culture of security, it's a lot easier to maintain security. Security is not here's a check, and security is not fixed.
Yeah.
Security is, here's a small check, and here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. And it's an ongoing process, because, even on the corporate side, whenever we come up with something to be able to stop a certain risk or a certain threat, they change tactics.
Yeah.
So it has to evolve. It's a constantly evolving type of concept. And while I was working there, teaching and training security personnel for the synagogue, people are asking, "Oh, can you teach us how to shoot?" Now getting into liability, you're getting into all these other, he taught me, and I didn't teach you how to
because a lot of
do
legalities,
this. I didn't shoot you how to teach that one, okay? I
heard it's 100% more effective.
Yeah.
This way.
Effective, you're going to be missing the target. But so I formed ETA Firearm, which actually stands Empowered Training Academy, Firearms Academy, or Firearm Department. Because I knew that there are more departments or more aspects of training I'd like to get into. So we started that. It was ETA Firearms. It evolved and grew, and I took NRA instructor and chief range officer, so I can teach range safety officers. I did USCCA instructor, so I have now a plethora of all these different types of certifications that allow me to do a lot of things. And the material that I gained is extremely important when teaching people, because not everybody learns the same.
Yeah.
Different learning styles, and not everyone has the same level of experience when they come into a class. And then you have to fight all the biases that people have about what they saw in Hollywood, and in the VHS tapes, still, and the DVDs, and the issue is you have to overcome all these things when you teach and before you teach, even when the advertising phase, because you'll have the hackler that would say, "Hey, you don't need a permit to carry in Arizona."
Yeah.
Absolutely correct, but do you know the law?
Yeah.
Do you know if this is a good time to draw your gun?
I heard it on Facebook. I heard it.
Do you know if it's a good time to draw your gun? Yeah. Because they're going to look at 5 different things in court for them to determine were you or were you not justified.
Yeah.
And that's the criminal court side. There is also the civil court. Now, if you haven't been charged here because you're justified, you will be 100% always be charged here. There will always be a lawsuit, because there's parents, there's relatives, there's family. There's always somebody who will sue you for what you've done. Yeah. So, do you need to take that chance? I mean, is it worth dying for? And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't have used your gun. Yeah. So, kind of formed this company and started teaching and getting a lot of people into classes, a lot of concealed carry classes, a lot of NRA classes. And back in Scottsdale, there's a dime a dozen of us, a whole bunch.
Oh, really?
And, everybody becomes an instructor. Not everybody's good, but, that's the responsibility of the students to figure out who's good and who's not, and who's a good fit for them too. Yeah. There's personalities, I'm not going to be able to teach everybody. Some people will not like me, and that's okay. Yeah. Okay. Some people love me, and that's great. Yeah. And those are the people I want to teach, and those are the people I want to train with. That's the tribe that we're building. Yeah. Because all in all, if you are teaching and training and giving them something to empower them, that's where it's at.
One of the things that I really love is you talk about like being aware of like your surroundings and like situational, and I think that's that I see kids today, I see a kid walk into a pole and like have no idea what's going on because they're just not hyper vigilant. I mean, I have a lot of trauma in my childhood, so like little things I'm always like, what's that? What is that person? That person doesn't feel. One of the things that I thought you mentioned earlier was when you talked about like say at a church where security starts at the attendant. Like the parking lot attendant, when like they see somebody that maybe just feels a little bit off, and then that person walks into a next person like at the door, and it's like, hey, this is my friend. He's going to take you on into the church or whatever. I thought that was really cool because security is not just a security team. It's collectively, like it starts as a whole huge team where people are aware of their surroundings, aware of the people that are going on. And so I think that's really cool that you're teaching that in a day and age where it really seems like it's getting lost.
The reason I have the skill, and not people who live in first world countries most of the time do not have any of the skill because they haven't been in any danger or fear. If you were bullied as a kid, if you were had a situation that was unsafe for you in the house, if you lived in a third world country, or if you lived in somebody like me in Israel who had to check every bag before going on the bus. So we go on the bus and then we compare bags to people and we ask people if that's their bag, because if it's a bag that's unattended, everybody gets off the bus. My dad was the safety and security officer for the education system in the city of Haifa. So he was going around to all the schools and hiding fake bombs to see if somebody's watching and looking and able to identify.
Wow.
So it was be simple. Back then, they would sell the loaf of bread, right? The uncut loaf of bread, not in any paper. It was just a paper bag. Well, they would cut the top, take the inside out, put a pipe bomb in there and close it back up, and they would leave it, in the paper bag, and nobody would think there's anything wrong with that, depending on where it was placed. So my dad had a fake one that he would go around and put in places while watching to see if somebody's making the right decisions. So that situational awareness, you don't have a choice. If there's wires coming out from a bag, if it's not in the right place, all of us have a baseline. When something is either above the baseline or below the baseline, something that's there that shouldn't, something that should be there but isn't, then that should be a red flag. Most people never would do anything about that because they don't understand what their body is saying to them. We all feel things. We all have the hair on the back of our necks. We have the chills. We have the gut feelings. And 90% of people who live in first world countries ignore that.
I love so much that you teach that because that is so important. Like you said, it just people are oblivious and they don't even think about it. And for you to really try to get people in tune with that and really kind of paying attention is it's vital to your safety, the safety around of people around you.
We live in a great country, probably the best country in the world. The issue that we're having is the change in climate, the change in not climate as in weather, but in
turmoil.
The turmoil, everything that's happening right now, whether you're on the left, on the right, I don't care. It doesn't make a difference. You should be vigilant on both sides.
For sure.
But the ability to notice when something is happening before it happens allows you to get away from a potential situation where you have to draw your gun if you're carrying a gun. Allow you to lock the door before somebody walks into your church or synagogue or house of worship. It allows you to be prepared before things happen. And we all have that. We were born with that. It's a God-given ability. We have learned to silence that to the point where we're not listening to it. Kids especially. Kids are completely oblivious because of this amazing, stupid device. I'm guilty sometimes with it. Little things. When you go to a restaurant, know where you're sitting, who's in the restaurant, and who should you pay attention to.
Wow, Bill. I was like you got your back towards the door. What are you doing? And I gotta really trust the person who I'm sitting with. If my back is towards the door, even if they look up, I'm like, what was that?
You are in tune. One of the reasons that we connected so well is the fact that we kind of have similar traits in various ways. And I noticed that you noticed. So,
and it's interesting because you talked about the synagogue, you talked about houses of worship, and naively we would think that is such a safe place because everyone's going there to worship their God and to just have fun and love, peace, and chicken grease. But like, no, I mean, I remember just a couple of years ago there was that shooting in Texas at a church there, and one of the security team actually took the guy out or something like that, and so you don't even think about. I mean, heaven forbid, you start thinking about like the things that are happening at schools. This one is supposed to be like one of the safest places ever, and it's terrifying to think that now it's commonplace for like JanSport and things to make bulletproof backpacks and stuff like that. Like, oh my gosh, what kind of like world are we in right now? That like, and that's what you mean when you talk about like the climate. It's changing. People, it's sad to see, but it's you have to change with the times, because if you don't, then you're gonna get left behind. And so I think it's really important and vital that you're doing security for houses of worship, because you do get just Joe Schmo who just says, "Oh, I don't need to have this. I can carry anytime I want. I'm in Arizona," and for you to come in and be like, "Listen, I respect that you have your gun, but let's take it up a notch, because here's the baseline. We want to be above that." You know what I mean? And really teaching the importance that they have an important job at that church, or that synagogue, that they're doing a service.
So, a couple of things. Number one, our rabbi called it a calling.
Yeah.
We're doing the Lord's, will.
Yeah.
Some are there to worship. Some are there to preach. Some are there to, do the collections.
Yeah.
Some are there to do whatever they need to do on the back end of things, the music, the editing. They have everything. Everybody has their purpose. Security is protecting the flock.
Yeah.
And when you do that, the responsibility is to protect the flock. Now, something that they don't talk about that same Texas shooting that you're talking about, is that 2 of the security team members lost their lives.
I think I remember.
Okay, the reason that they lost their lives is that they weren't doing what they were taught.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, they were taught 100% how to interact with this. They didn't understand the level of risk,
Yeah.
and the level of threat that was right there in front of them. And we actually studied that entire scenario at our synagogue. And the last thing I closed with was, if you're not caring every single day and it's not a part of your life, and if you don't have that level of awareness that we're talking about, quit the team today.
Yeah.
Go unarmed, go do something else.
Yeah.
And the reason is, if you are not in tune with that level of awareness and
It's like skill.
it's skill, it's awareness, it's having the proactive approach. I hear a lot that people, I have a security in the church. I said, okay, who is the security? I have an off-duty cop.
Yeah.
Cops are reactive.
Yeah.
They don't show up before it happens. They show up after it happens.
Yeah.
So they're reactive. That's a disadvantage for a church.
Yeah.
Okay, like you said before, the people that we need to train is the parking attendant, the usher, and the greeter. The greeter, by asking specific questions, can pick up red flags and then transition that to a security team member who can immediately take that threat, keep it outside, and then communicate with team members in the back, lock it, do other things. So there's a definite way of doing things. Not to say anything bad about cops. Their job is to be reactive. They're reacting.
They're showing up to
it.
the situation. Yeah.
You, as a security, have a role to be proactive.
Yeah.
It's the counter surveillance part. It's looking before it happens, reading the signs. A couple of good books that everybody should probably read is The Gift of Fear. And it actually talks about how he became this in tune or situationally aware. It's because of the situation he used to live in at home. Yeah. He's a kid. And the first scenario that he talks about, you could assume that he's talking about a police situation. Yeah. But it's home. He's seen that from his own view as a kid. Wow. and Gavin D. Baker, I think, Becker, Gift of Fear, The Gift of Fear. It's phenomenal book. It is teaching you basic things. The other one is Left of Bang. Right of Bang is too late. Left of Bang is being able to predict things that happen, or at least see things that happen and make assumptions and react to it before it happens. So there's many points to that topic. One of the things that we do at Empower is we empower individuals to empower communities, and that's why this is a passion for me, because if I can't reach and teach everybody in the community, but I can teach individuals, and if I can do that, and that permeates down to everybody else, just a little bit, then we've made it.
Because we all got that circle, you know what I mean? You're kind of realm of influence. I tell my kids all the time, at youth, like, you guys are influencers, whether you believe it or not. Like, you're influencers. I mean, you may not have 1 million followers on social media, but you're an influencer in your group. You're an influencer. One of the things I saw you share just the other day is that you're doing a course for kids, and I think that's awesome, because I mean, we've seen it in news and in situations where a kid loses his life because he picks up a gun, or and I'm not to get on the whole video game debate, but I think there is some aspect where they just they're playing Call of Duty all the time, and I think that they can just pick up a gun and not have the respect for that gun. I mean, I was taught respect like you when I was a little kid, and I had my own gun when I was a kid, but I went to hunter safety course, I went to gun safety, like I went through all these things, and I think it's really cool that you're teaching some kids. You actually have a story about a kid that you told me. I think it would actually be a really good story to share.
So we'll call him, Jonathan, and this kid is a 5.5-year-old at the time, and he plays Fortnite day in, day out, all night. He's communicating with people all across the world with the earpiece and everything.
That's
else.
A whole topic in itself.
Yeah, and he's just like, I know everything. His parents were in my class for CCW. They both purchased guns for themselves. They had the safes and everything else. And the mother calls me and she goes, you know what? I know I'm going to be protecting, which is my responsibility to make sure that my kid is safe. But I have a problem thinking that he's not going to be able to make the difference between, or be able to establish the difference between a real and not real. What do you suggest? Yeah. I said, okay, bring him to one of my classes. So next concealed carry classes, she brought him in. My wife took him to the side, used the inert guns, the SIRT guns to teach him how to hold, how to get a grip, trigger press, trigger pull, aiming, and everything else. Between the actual classroom and the range, I took the kid and I said, Jonathan, okay, let's go shoot. And he's all excited and everything else. We shot my .22, which doesn't have any recoil, doesn't have any much sound. We're all protected. I'm holding him, and we're shooting about 4 rounds. Yeah. And he's like, I'm done. I'm like, you sure? You don't want to do any more? You're like, you love this. He goes, no, I'm done. Wouldn't speak for 2 hours. Yeah. On the way back home, he's like sitting in the back seat, and then from the back seat you hear, hey, Mom, I don't think I should touch guns till at least I'm 8 years old. Okay, so these kids understand. Yeah. My point of view is very simple. When was the first time you taught your kids not to touch a hot stove?
Right away.
Not to play with knives.
Right away.
Okay, what's the difference with guns? Yeah. Okay, we're not teaching them to use them. Yeah. You teach them that there's respect for the tool. Yeah. Okay. Today it's like, oh, we're hiding everything. Well, my rebuttal for that is we need to talk about things. We need to talk about emotions. We need to talk about fears. We need to talk about mental health. We need to talk about everything, because anything the government ever declared war on, we have lost. And I mean the public. Yeah. Including the government. But we all lost. Prohibition. Yeah. How did that go for us? Yeah. War on drugs. It was bloody period during that time. War on drugs. We're still losing. Yeah. Poverty. Yeah. Homelessness. I mean, I don't hate the government.
Yeah.
It's just everything that they take under their wing is going to fail.
Yeah.
Communities fix things.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not to hide this from kids, but kids are supposed to be what? Curious. They're supposed to learn. They're supposed to take information in. So if I teach them how to be respectful and even fearful of that noise and of that tool, it's just like a knife. It's just like anything else, and they will grow to be better adults.
Yeah, I really love it, and I really love the way you explained it, because there's going to be parents out there that are like, "Oh, I don't want my kid exposed to it at all." Listen, kids go to other friends' houses, and like like you just said, when you teach your kid not to stick a fork into a socket, like right away, like these are things that like they should know and be respectful in situations. Like if you see a gun, you tell a parent, or like you just be aware. I think it's really good, and so much so that I shared it, because I think it's definitely something that parents should get their kids involved with. Even if you don't really plan on having your kid interact with guns ever, or just like, oh, I'm going to get my kid, I want them hunting, like get them started then, get them familiar with what the tool. You know what I say?
I had a lot of parents asking me like, well, I don't want my kids to know anything about guns. I said, do you let them play with other people? Do they go on play dates?
Yeah.
Okay. I cannot control the other parent.
Yeah.
But I control my kid as to what are you doing if you're seeing that.
Yeah.
Call me, I'll come pick you up.
Yeah.
Or if you don't, if that parents have left the gun unattended or unsecured, which is by law your responsibility. Get you out of there.
Yeah.
We might reconsider that play date again.
Yeah.
Or I might just go up there and say, hey, would you like to learn how to properly secure your gun?
Yeah.
Okay? There's a discussion, there's an opportunity here rather than, locking this away. Here's the thing. You can't hide it. Guns are everywhere.
Yeah.
Take all the guns in the world. Not happening.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rock, it's going to be a knife, it's going to be a TV. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to be a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, it'll be something.
Okay? Back in Israel, it's probably the strictest gun control back in my day when I grew up there.
Yeah.
So they use bombs. Who cares? And they put nails and everything else in there.
Like in England, when they took away guns, they got
knives.
Yeah.
So it's not the solution. The solution is education, like everything else, but the right education.
Yeah, and I think it starts with. I mean, you can start with kids, and then just up to parents, because, like you said, you got kids that go into friends' houses, and like you don't know their parents. Some parents are lackadaisical. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, my friends. I mean, everyone had gun racks, and like literally just gun racks on the wall, and like, oh, I mean, it was commonplace for me. Even I mean, there was kids that would go to school and they'd have a gun rack in their truck and just have two rifles. They'd just shoot at the air on the way to school, and so it's crazy to kind of see that shift. But you just don't know how people how they store their guns. I mean, I've seen people with concealed carry that just leave their purse in a front row and then walk away, and like their purse is kind of open. You're like, oh, that's stupid. What are you doing?
The issue with guns, people get, I took a class, or I never took a class, but I've been shooting for 30 years, or I've been in the military, or I've been to this, I've been a cop. And everything with people is 20-80 rule. 20% of people do more than is expected and more is required. 80% of people don't do enough.
Yeah.
And they just do the minimum to pass. Yeah. My responsibility as an instructor is to do as much as I can to teach, train, and educate.
Proactive.
And again, the proactiveness.
Yep.
We can't do the reactive. Reactive is too late.
Yep.
Reactive, somebody's getting hurt.
Yep.
And if we get to the point where we have a honest conversation, and again, and I don't care which side of the, political spectrum you're on, there's something we all share in his life. There's nothing more important than that. And well, the exception of God, but that's the source of life.
Yeah.
But life. So let's talk about life. Let's talk about what we do. And taking guns away, then they're going to use something else. If you understand the tool that you have, you never knew how to use a hammer.
Yeah.
You never knew how to use a saw. You had to be taught how to do that and how to do it safely.
Yep.
Same thing. It's a tool.
Yeah, and I think it's really cool that, like you said, I mean, you've got things for people that have been in the military for 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, that like they can still brush up on things. And like, I mean, I've got so many people that are coming to mind right now that I'm going to tell about this, just because like the things that like we're actually gonna show some of this stuff. The things that you do here can, I mean, you want to get better. You don't want to get complacent, especially with a weapon. Like, you know what I mean? Like you want to be more active. You want your goal to be like, I want to be able to hit that target further away. Like that. Start challenging yourself, and I think some of the courses that you do here really help like kick your game up to the next level. And like I'm pretty much a novice. Like I haven't shot a gun in a couple of years. I'll be honest. You take a punch from a man card, whatever. But I got a shotgun that's just sitting, just collecting dust. It's not even doing anything. But I'm totally excited to maybe learn some stuff and see kind of like what you do here, and maybe show people here in Wickenburg. Because one of the biggest things I know is that people don't know how awesome this place is. And the things that you provide is like it's crazy, and I mean things from like a fun aspect where you can have just a couple guys shooting some zombies, and to like you want to shoot a gnat on a bull's ass from 100 yards away, but like that's like I mean that's what you're doing here is you have all that kind of technology here.
So the system that we're using is laser ammo. It's called smokeless range. So we have the simulator, we have reactive targets, we have a lot of other tools that we use. If you've ever been an operator, special forces, and you just left 10 months ago, there's not much I can teach you.
Yeah.
What I can teach you is how to be carrying your firearm in a civilian concept, but that's about it. I take classes, I take courses. Next year, I'm going to be taking law enforcement, NRA law enforcement training for instructors. So I'll be able to teach law enforcement as well for shotgun and pistol. So that's already in the books. I have that. I'm also going to take another instructor class that teaches learning types and how to interact with different types of learning abilities and capabilities. So that's another. So I'm always investing in myself so I can put it back to the community.
Yeah.
The CPR and AED, the first aid, the shot, stop the bleed, all these skills. If you carry a gun and you don't have the skills for stop the bleed, guess what?
Yeah.
You're missing a big component of a daily carry.
Oh yeah. I mean I didn't even think of that.
Back.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
It's not that people who go to the range, for example, every single day and stand stationary in front of a stationary target and shoot 50 rounds. What progress do you do? What progress did you make?
Yeah.
What are the parameters that you can kind of look into and say, okay, I have made that much progress?
Yeah.
How do you measure that?
Yeah.
We have a class here. It's a 3-hour class. It's full of information, and what it does, you can take that book with you at the end of the class. Yeah. It's a 3-hour class. You have all the tools. Anytime you go to the range, you can measure your progress.
Yeah.
I have not seen that anywhere else.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, and that's something to like challenge yourself, and take yourself up the next level.